quarterbacks. Let's throw up the rankings there again. We just talked about Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers to a T. Deshaun Watson is going to be the next guy we're talking about today. Jacob, you currently have Deshaun Watson as a top 8 fantasy quarterback. I have him all the way down at 14. So please, sir, educate us as to why you believe Deshaun Watson is going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback this season.
Look, so we talked a little bit about Watson, I believe last week, because you had him as one of your guys that you think are going to suck this year. And I disagreed with you. And look,
suck is a big word. I didn't say suck.
We know the situation off the field, okay? What more is there to say about it? It happened. It is what it is as at this point, right? Like, so as long as he doesn't have any more legal troubles, which is possible, I'm not worried about that. He was rusty coming back. He came into a situation where I think his mental state was probably a little, shaky, because imagine that whole thing. You feel so scrutinized. You feel so like all these eyeballs are on you in the worst possible way. And then you have a guy like Jacoby Brissett, like a good backup, but there's a reason why he's not a starter in the league, a guaranteed starter in the league. And he was playing well-ish for NFL, for the Browns and for the NFL, and they were winning, right? And then Watson comes in with all that pressure, has to play. The team is really designed for like Nick Chubb just to go insane, right? And then he really only had Amari Cooper and David Njoku, right? So all those circumstances, look, I think he had a year. He worked last offseason knowing he was going to be suspended for 8 games, right? Like, that's just, that's hard to do. Now he has a full offseason with the team. They added Elijah Moore, which I don't think is a small thing. People need to remember that. They still have Amari Cooper, who was amazing last year, and I think can be amazing again this year. We got DPJ over there. We got David Njoku. Look, Nick Chubb can only help the offense, and it could still be a run-heavy offense. He never had a guy like Nick Chubb when he was in Houston, right? He never did. So that's a concern as far as, like, is it going to be a run-heavy team? But, hey, maybe we see Nick Chubb pick it up in the passing game this year, possibly. But, look, all things considered, like I said last week, prior to the off-field struggles, we were heading to a situation where Mahomes and Watson were the face of the league. Do you remember those AWS, or was it AWS, or was one of those Watson was everywhere in marketing. Like, he was in a bunch of commercials. I was like, that's my boy. And then all this stuff happened, right? Because I have a connection to Deshaun Watson because his rookie year, like, I picked him up in a league, and like he was winning me weeks every week, and then he got injured, and I was so devastated. And I was like, I've always been rooting for him ever since then, right? And like the year prior to him getting in the legal troubles, he was a top 4 quarterback, and he had an amazing year. Go look back at that year; it was absolutely incredible. And like I said, he was up on Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and of course, Patrick Mahomes came back and won. So, like, don't forget who this guy is. He could honestly, and the thing is, he's just as good a passer, I'm saying in his prime, prior to the off-field struggles, he's just as good as Burrow and Herbert and Allen. All right, so Allen rushes too, right? But I have Burrow and Herbert at 3 and 4. Watson is just as good as them, but better rusher, better scrambler, can escape the pocket, pick up those 40, 50 yards that stack up over the season and help you sketch out those wins that are 1-point, 2-point fantasy games, right? So there's a world where Watson, in my eyes, finishes 3 or 4, but I'm being conservative and putting him at 8. I truly believe in him as a talent. as a talent and a football player, I support him.
You know what? It's true. We have to go back in time. Watson was once a fantasy monster, right? Quarterback 5 overall in the first 3 years of
Wow.
the NFL. And
That's insane.
we often forget that, right? Last year, there's a case to be made that he was just rusty. He only averaged 15 fantasy points per game. There were games where he absolutely sank your team. His accuracy was awful at 58%. You made the point that this is a run first team. Well, I looked it up because I'm really trying to find ways to just ding Watson, right? Well, there were games last year at 4 of like the 7 or 8 he played where he threw the ball over 30 times. So he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. They paid him a lot of money not to just have Chubb rush the ball 25 times a game. So that argument becomes invalid for both of us at that point. One of the things I really don't like about him is the 7th round ADP, mainly because some of these quarterbacks that I have ranked personally ahead of him that we're going to eventually talk about, but I'll mention them here for the video, is Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kirk Cousins. I think they have far more talented options to utilize in that offense, further increasing their fantasy game. And some of them have just been far more consistent than Deshaun Watson. But yes, there is a world where he returns to form. Regardless, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about Deshaun Watson in the 2023 season? Can he crack the top 10?